checking for me, no one checking on me, so I had to go run up a check. I got the message on me, ain't no flexing on me, my attorney gon' call and collect. Blessings on blessings for me, my successes only made them envious, they got upset. I had to put all their egos in check. I want the money, the power, respect, and I heard you know so-and-so, you not a threat, cause I really know so-and-so, they like my family, so they go pretend that they cool till they busted your motherfucking chest. I'm getting gutter, my flow been like butter, my check in the bank, they see the number. All of my haters feel one of two ways, really upset or they show some respect. I can't even think about it, I've been up, so read about it, no beat around it, straight to it, no ring around it. You coming for me, we'll see about it, we'll never see it when I get my feet up. 100 meters where I run the field, and go for chinging on a monopia. I had to re-up on a reel, so you stay defeated, and put it back into the bit, cause I don't really need it. I heard they checking for me, no one checking on me, so I had to go run up a check. I got the message on me, ain't no flexing on me, my attorney gon' call and collect. Blessings on blessings for me, my successes only made them envious, they got upset. I had to put all their egos in check. I had to put all their egos in check. You're not entitled to anything else. I get 10 years of this under my belt. Your art is an art, they don't feel it, and nobody hears it. An issue to stay on the shelf. Your ego done got in the way. It gotta die today. It gotta go. You should be happy I lighten the load. The weight of your arrogance, heavy as stone. I make an appearance, they already know. That chip on your shoulder gon' crumble and fold, yeah. It's not a secret that you have been fearing the shit that I'm on. So you back to the brag and the boast. But I'm in a class of my own. I heard they checking for me, no one checking on me, so I had to go run up a check.
What's good, everybody? Welcome to Drone Brews. It's another beautiful Wednesday night, bi-weekly live streams. And wow, what a 180 with guests this evening. Tonight, we have none other than Vic Moss on the stream. Stark departure from the previous guest we had on. But we're going to be talking a little bit about this DJI drone ban. We're going to talk, we're going to try to take things further in depth on this. I've got questions. Hopefully Vic has answers. Yeah, it's been a fun afternoon to say the least. Anytime we start talking about this this topic, it's always interesting to see the rectal trolls come out of the woodwork. So that's always fun. All right. With that being said, I don't want to waste too much time. Let's go ahead. We'll bring Vic in. We'll start chatting. If you guys have questions, we'll definitely try to answer them the best we possibly can. Moderators, do your thing. Keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on the chat and do your thing. I'm sure, like I said, there's going to be all sorts of wonderful nut jobs this evening. No doubt. All right, let's bring in Vic, a man that needs no introduction. Vic? Good to have you on, man.
That's some of the most interesting bumper music I think I've ever done on a podcast or ever heard. So,
yeah,
not my style, but hey, it works, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's my style, so there's that.
Yeah. It's not really old white guy music, but good. No, we're good. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for having me. This is awesome. I really appreciate it. Yeah,
I mean, you texted me. You said you wanted to talk about this. And it was funny. I sat down here yesterday and I started filming a video about this topic, and it's hard to articulate this into words. And I know there is a lot of people that that are going to be upset with this topic in both ways. Some people that feel that DJI should be banned. There are people that feel that this is unjust. There are people that feel that DJI has lied. There's a lot of emotions. And I want to make it very clear. For me, it doesn't matter one way or the other. What happens? I'm just be completely honest, because at the end of the day, business will happen no matter what. Mm-hmm. I don't get paid by DJI, so whatever happens. I think I made that pretty clear to Mr. Finkelstein on Twitter. I think my affiliate earnings with DJI are like zero. I probably owe them money at this point. So there's that. But we just want to have like a sort of in the middle conversation about this. So first off, Vic, just give us the rundown for anybody that does not know what's occurring and what's happening on the 12th. Break it down for us.
Perfect. In case you've been living in under a rock or in a cave, basically what's going on is we have a Stefanik bill that has passed the House. It's called the Countering CCP Drones Act. It's been bouncing around the House for I think the last 2 years, and it finally got legs this year. I honestly thought when I first read this that I just didn't think the U.S. Congress was that collectively stupid to where they could go ahead and do something like this. It started out with Brendan Carr, not the Brendan Carr, but the Brendan Carr from the FCC, two different sadly named guys, not the drone pilot Brendan Carr. Trying to make his legacy in the last vestiges of the Trump administration, and as the FCC chair, he was trying to get DJI banned from getting FCC licenses. That didn't go anywhere. Stefanik picked up the torch, and this year, like I said, it got a little bit of leg. And so the Countering CCP Drones Act would add DJI to a list that then makes it impossible for them to get FCC licenses.
Correct.
So then what would happen is we would no longer get after this went into effect, if this goes into effect. Even if it passes, there has to be some FCC paperwork and procedures and blah, blah, blah. We would no longer be allowed to import any DJI product. That includes drones, mics, gimbals, because that's all, it all has radio stuff.
Yeah,
so you have to have
anything that requires FCC certification.
Right. And it could, although, go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, they could theoretically remove the Bluetooth from their gimbals, I guess.
Yeah, I guess they could. So that would be a workaround there.
I mean, that would be a workaround for that anyways. Yeah.
Yeah, but it wouldn't work for anything else. And so it wouldn't, in theory, retroactively revoke the FCC licenses of our current drones. But it doesn't say it won't. So I'm leery of that aspect of it. But what happened is I did pass the House, like I said. It's going into the Senate. But the biggest issue right now is it was included in the NDAA, so the National Defense Authorization Act. Not the bill itself, but the language from the bill is included in the House version of the NDAA.
Okay.
The Senate is now set to mark up between the 11th and 13th of next week their version of the NDAA. What that means is a committee gets together, says, okay, here's the framework of the NDAA, and all the politicians say, I want to put mine here, mine here, mine here, mine here, mine here when it comes to bills they're trying to push. And that's how it ended up in the House NDAA. So what we want to try and do is reach out to our senators and ask them to please not let this happen. It would literally ban DJI imports from then on. And the groundwork for this is that it's a security risk.
Right.
We can debate the truthfulness of that and the degree at which it is all day long. Both sides have decent arguments. I don't want to have some of those arguments here because it's not the appropriate place. But that's how it all started out. And what frustrates me.
How do we
I'm going to talk forever.
How did we get here though? That's the question. How does DJI end up in this situation? Because I think it's important for the how, right? The how, because like we're asking people to reach out to their senators, to their congressmen, to ask them not to let this happen. But how did we get here is I think an important why that people need to ask. Why are they in this position beyond just politics aside and country of origin? How did we get here?
Well, you can't talk about without politics. So
okay, all right. Well, I mean, yeah, involve the politics there. I mean, that's there. But what was found that was deemed to be a threat that they are using as their ammunition to make this happen?
Sure. Well, first it was put on and I'd have to double check which exactly list, but basically they say that DJI supplied drones to the Chinese government to work with some of the smaller tribes, for lack of a better word, in some of the more rural areas of Russia. And so were DJI drones used there? Probably. They're good. They're good machines for doing that kind of stuff, just like they're good machines for taking pictures. They're optical machines, so that's good for that. And so they were put on that particular list. And from there, it kind of went down to the security issue with some of the data they say that we can have, that they say that they have of ours, critical infrastructure imagery, things like that. And it's kind of snowballed. China's an easy target right now in DC. You see a lot of stuff. They actually have China weeks. They'll have a week of China. Both houses will have a week of China bills. They call it China bills. I mean, that's what it is. And it seems that drones are kind of the easy DC whipping boy right now. And Stefanik has kind of latched on, at least Stefanik.
And she's in New York.
She's in New York.
She's
Congresswoman from the 21st District of New York.
And now New York just signed a pretty large contract with Skydio to supply their drones to...
That was the city, I thought.
NYPD. But
Right.
I believe the state recently just got a contract with Skydio as well for their drones to be replaced. So I don't know, maybe just connecting dots here. But okay,
there's some dots there to connect, absolutely.
So the smoking gun of all this, we haven't really seen any provable data. I mean, now there's people that have sent me things. There's people that sent me, and you look at it and you're like, okay. You can look at that data, you can see it, but there's a lot of what ifs, right? There's a lot of what ifs, as in all exploits, security flaws. Like, it means nothing to us. The layman person, it means nothing to us without, like, okay, how is this being used against me, right? And that is the question that I have asked over and over again. How is this going to affect me? What is this going to do to me?
And how has it affected people already?
Right. And how has it affected people already? What data has been stolen, or what's been done with that information? Right. That's all I've asked. That's all I've ever asked.
I don't need to know exactly what it is, but you can say what's going on without saying what's going on. And honestly, this is one of the things that really pisses me off more than anything else is, if this was an issue, if there was proof to this, and accusations are not proof, we all know that.
Right.
Washington, D.C., I love to use this phrase, Washington, D.C. leaks like the screen door in a submarine. If there was this information out there, somebody on the side that wants DJI banned would have given it to a staffer, to an intern, and if this was the 1970s, he would have met in a back alley somewhere in DC and passed information along. But nowadays, it would have been a simple email from an anonymous email source,
right?
And it would be out there. And I've yet to speak. I firmly believe that in my heart of all hearts.
And with this bill, I've looked over it. I haven't seen anything that really outlines what the threat is specifically.
No.
Nothing specifically that outlines what the threat is. Now, me just being me, I don't have to blindly follow somebody because they say, "Oh, this is bad for you." I'm the type of person, I always want to know the why, the what's. I want to know what makes. I may not understand it fully, but I want to know what makes the wheels turn. I want to know how will this affect me? What is this going to? How is this going to negatively impact me moving forward? And again, this is the thing. Nobody can really say definitively what this is, or what's going to happen with this data. So okay, so let's for instance, and hate to bring them up because I know you hate this, but I'm going to do it anyways. So Kevin Finkelstein is a well-known security analyst, researcher in the drone space, right? He's been knocking at DJI's door for years and years and years. And he brought up some exploits where basically it's executable code where he claims that DJI could essentially execute this remotely. That's what it says. That's what it says. But the why or the what that information. Now he's talking about the phone, but I think the relevant thing is most of the drones that we operate now are not controlled with our mobile devices anymore. They're not. Like,
none of those are. Not a single drone.
All of my devices are all controlled with a smart controller, a standalone unit that has nothing to do with any of my data. So I guess my question is, okay, so it's being controlled by a smart controller. I'm not connecting to the internet. I barely ever connect it. I think the only time is if I have to do an authorization and then it's disconnected again or whatever. So I asked, what is the information that they would essentially obtain? Because the only thing I have on that account is more or less a burner email that I utilize to do my authorizations and have basic, that's it. Like that's the only thing I'm not receiving, or it's not, I don't have my Facebook. It doesn't have my banking information. It doesn't have any of that information there. So what is it that it's actually getting? I'm genuinely, and I'm playing devil's advocate here because I'm asking that question. I'm asking the question, what is it? What is the security risk here? I can understand if it was being used for military and you can give up positions. I can understand that in a game of chess, but we're not military. There are law enforcement, it's sort of like we never know when they're going to use their drone. They don't announce it. It's not like a pre-planned operative where it can be countered. So again, okay, critical infrastructure. All right, maybe. Okay, I can see where you wouldn't want to use an aircraft that is not from, this country possibly. But again,
I'd go further than that. But go ahead.
What is the harm? Is all I'm just genuinely asking. And the problem is I always get complicated responses or combative responses where there is no objection, there is no objective. And I specifically say this to you, Mr. Finkelstein, because I know we've been going back and forth on Twitter, and you feel like you're the type of person that it is only your way and no other way. You can't hear any other objective because you're like, I have this data and this, but this data means nothing to anybody that is purchasing these aircrafts, to hundreds of thousands of people. Give them the why. They don't need the technical bullshit. Give them the why. Tell them how that would be used against them in a manner in which that would either A, scare the shit out of somebody, or B, they're going to say, fuck it, because plenty of people log into Facebook knowing that they are giving up a piece of their privacy, yet they still continue to use a machine that can harvest information. They don't even read the EULA agreement. They just slide up and hit agree, and they consent to information and ads and personalized information trading back and forth, and they don't understand why. So you're not giving a reasoning. Right. So, and Dubai Drone says it's his 2017 regurgitated BS, which it is. A lot of it is. Now he claims that he's pulled relevant information. I don't see much difference. I still don't see the cause for alarm. And I say this because it's important for everybody to have adequate information, both sides, so they can make a decision. I'm not telling you what to think or believe or whatever. I use DJI products. Vic uses DJI products in our everyday. If they should happen to be banned, we're going to have to look for another option. I know a lot of people believe, we'll just use Autel. But I believe this ban would also encompass Autel as well, even though it says assembled.
DFR.
Yeah, it says that it's assembled in Redmond, Washington, or wherever they're located now. It is still they're not. It's still the country of origin for Autel is still China. So that would rule those drones out as well. But the good news is you're never going to see an Autel update anyways, so it's still status quo even if they are banned, folks. That's my dig at that Autel. So I know I just spilled a lot there.
That's fine.
I mean, I guess I just still don't understand. And it's like playing proverbial whack-a-mole with these bills over and over and over again. And and
we have the biggest mole now.
Right. So, I mean, has anybody said anything as far as what's been said in the Senate at this point? Like, as far as where people are leaning, are they going to back this? I mean, obviously the verbiage is different, right? Because it's it sounds like it's being in a culmination of another bill. So it gives it a little bit, it's almost like a Trojan horse, essentially.
It's a Trojan horse where everybody knows what's inside. So, they're fighting to get the horse out of there or not allow it in. So,
right. Okay.
That's a good way to put it. To backtrack a little bit is, I don't think there's a person out there who thinks we should fly our DJI drones or any drones.
Sure.
Everywhere, anywhere. Boom. Yeah. Hey, let's do this. Let's fly here. Let's fly over 3 Mile Island, whatever. We shouldn't do that. And that seems to be part of the counter argument about what we're trying to do is, well, they're going to spy on us. Okay, if we've got critical infrastructure, if we've got some place where there are actual security issues, not the national park,
right?
Then you know what? We need protocols. We need protocols for drones. We need protocols for routers. We need protocols for fax machines, which probably already exist. And then we need to define where those are. We've got Section 2209, which is part of the 2016 FAA MRA or FAA Modernization Reform Act, and it was required then for the FAA to sit down with some different agencies to define what critical infrastructure airspace is. Where's the list? We still don't have it. 8 years later,
right?
And until we get that, we really can't even do the other part. We can't figure out where what needs not to fly. But a blanket ban based on unproven, in theory, unshown security issues,
right,
is killing flies with a hand grenade. It shouldn't happen. It shouldn't happen. You're literally killing an industry. My drones are maybe 20-25% of what I do. I'm a ground camera guy. I've been that way for 35 years. Drones are just another camera. I will survive.
I think the hardest
thing will not.
I mean, personally, I'm a ground camera based person as well. I would say 85% of what I do is from the ground. Mm-hmm. If I couldn't fly a DJI aircraft, it's not going to hinder. I'm still going to make the same amount of money that I make every year until something else comes along. I think the hardest thing for me is for anybody that is not familiar. Let's say they revoke this. Let's say they revoke this and they made it where we could not fly. Like, you literally could not fly. Like, hey, it's illegal. You're going to get a ticket or whatever if you fly these aircrafts. The hardest thing would be to explain to clients that we can't fly, because they're not versed in this. They're not in this industry. They're not around this. They don't eat, sleep. They don't care. They don't eat, sleep, and breathe. They're just gonna be like, why? I mean, we already battle through it now. When I say to them, like, hey, the airport is right here. I have to file an authorization because we're in zero grid. They may or may not let us fly. And they'll always return back to me with, well, so-and-so flew that. I'm like, well, so-and-so did it illegally. They didn't file the proper authorizations to do so. We're going to do it the right way. So there's already like a bit of, an issue there. And, I think we're going to feel it mostly. And I feel like the other thing that sucks about this, while other enterprise like avenues, other enterprise genres of this industry have options, which is sort of crazy, because you would think that the camera side, the guys that are doing cinematography, photography, we would have an abundant amount of options to utilize, and we have the least amount of options available to us. But guys that do mapping, guys that do inspections, search and rescues, whatever, they have options. So theoretically, it may be expensive to replace those aircrafts, but you at least will still have options. Maybe not the best options, but you'll have options. But there is another side of enterprise that is for the videographers, the cinematographers, the photographers. That is an enterprise level of work, not necessarily super critical. But DJI at this point has been the only, aircraft that we have been able to use. And the fact that there's not been an American-based company of focus that we could turn to. At one point, I thought Skydio, when they first announced their aircraft back in 2019, the S2, I thought to myself, this is it. This is the American company that we were asking for. And they quite literally rug pulled us in 2020. I think it was 2022, late 2022. They announced that they were exiting, it was 2023. They announced that they were officially exiting the consumer space. But we had suspected that in 2022. We suspected that they were departing. And now we have nothing. You look around, there is literally nothing. And people, and I've heard this claim from diehard people that just oppose and have disdain towards DJI. It's like, well, DJI they were a conglomerate in the market. No, that's not the case, because there was companies that had options. They had time to build a product that could compete. Nobody stepped forward to do so. they completely wrote off and alienated an entire class of enterprise users that may not be considered enterprise, but I feel is a genre of enterprise use case. And I know I see a lot of people complaining now about Anzu's prices. Like, oh, well, because Anzu is an option, right? That's an option. But but here's the deal. I guarantee you at the price of Anzu right now, it will still be cheaper than an American option that cannot perform as equivalent as the Anzu option that is on the market today. I guarantee you. And that's sad to say as an American that there isn't an option out there for us. And this is where my battle with the politics and analysts, security researchers that just don't understand that. Again, they're just looking at this data. They're just data. They're like, well, it says that it can do this.
Can do this.
I don't play. What ifs don't count. What if doesn't count. We don't play could'ves. I mean, what is that saying? It's what is this? Something about horseshoes and assholes or something like that. I think that's about almost doesn't count, only in horseshoes and assholes. But that's the thing. And it's very frustrating. It sucks because if they gave me an understanding, if anyone broke it down like an idiot, a fucking idiot can understand it. I'm sorry but break it down so an absolute moron could understand it. That the threat, if you broke it down, because most of your politicians are just idiots. They have the luck of the draw. They ended up there, and break it down, explain the threat in layman's terms, and they can't. Every time I've asked, they can't. They give me code. I don't want code. Tell me what the threat is. Break it down. Give me the Apple terms. Give me the threat in an Apple presentation. Apple can make any threat sound understandable.
I like that. And it's I don't even need to know what it does to me personally. Okay. I can do me. Okay. That's not an issue. What I want to know is what's the security threat to the nation? Because that's what they're hanging their hat on. Tell me what it is. You and I have both asked politicians for this, and all we get are, we can't share it because it's not above your pay grade or worse than.
Right. But I don't even think they understand, because when you ask them what it is that China is seeking, what is it that they ultimately
critical infrastructure,
critical infrastructure, like as if they couldn't gain this information from high level satellites or spy balloons. Right, or our phones, but it's, again, in my opinion, I mean, China doesn't want anything to do with that. China just wants us to pay back the money that we freaking likely owe them at this point. Like, if anything, we're financial collateral to them, in that perspective. But I just don't understand it. And then I guess there's a lot, there's probably things that we don't know, we don't see, that may seem minuscule. These threats may seem minuscule to us because we're close to the fire. So again, playing devil's advocate, being close to the situation because we utilize our drones. We're in this industry. Obviously, we're passionate. Sometimes we can be blinded by our unconscious bias to an industry, and we are comfortable with using these products that we would say, just like logging into Facebook. Sometimes it becomes an addiction where you want to know so badly what somebody's doing, or you have some news to share, that you're willing to log in and share that information at the cost of your privacy. I'm not saying that it's the same with the drone, but I mean, again, we just haven't had enough of public information that makes a lot of sense to civilians. Like, again, you have to make that make sense, because otherwise people are just like, okay, politicians are making decisions based upon their beliefs or a group of these, or what they're told, and not listening to an entire industry. Because quite frankly, if they did do that, it would have an adverse, a microeconomic fallout within the drone scape itself.
Mm-hmm.
And I know there's brands that would be totally happy with that.
I can think of 3.
Yeah. Well, I would say 2. And I'll tell you what. There is a brand that's been quiet. There's been a brand that's been quiet. They really haven't voiced their concerns. I would say Teal really hasn't voiced their concern one way or the other when it comes to DJI. And you know why they haven't, Vic?
They haven't verbally.
But you know why they haven't verbally? Because Red Cat Holdings is the parent company of Teal. You know what Red Cat Holdings also owns? One of the largest online retailers for drone related products. Rotor Riot. So if a ban like this occurred, it would also negatively impact Red Cat's Holdings bottom line, because they would no longer be able to retail one of their highest and probably most profitable products that they distribute. So they've been relatively quiet because, once again, if it was a security concern, they would likely voice their thing. But now it becomes a financial thing. Now they also have something financially to lose in this matter, as opposed to Skydio and Brink, where it's just solely them. Red Cat is a holdings company that happens to own multiple faucets that makes money.
Okay. Makes sense. Absolutely.
I just, in researching this a little bit, you just see who's voicing and who's getting behind certain avenues.
Right. It's interesting then that the Teal is that way, because they are doing some monetarily voicing their opinion, shall we say. Not a lot, not the same, but they're
not the same capacity. They're
supporting. Yeah.
While they're supporting, it's not the same capacity.
Right. Maybe it is they don't really want to and don't have it. So that's cool.
Sure.
And I don't really fault the Brink and Skydio. I mean, I do, obviously, but they're playing the game. This is the game you play in DC. He who has the most points wins, and to get points, you get people.
Yeah.
And Stefanik and Skydio are linked.
Yeah.
So we've got that there too, and they don't hide it. They don't hide it at all.
Well, you can actually go out there and see how much money Skydio has paid lobbyists this year.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's DJI. It's not hidden.
Right, and DJI is the same. I mean, you can see how much money they've spent. Obviously, DJI's had to spend I would say quite a bit more, but it's almost like they're treading water with what they've spent in comparison to what Skydio spent. But I sometimes believe too, what you see on paper as far as money being spent isn't the entire story, because with Skydio can say, hey, we'll give you X and Y for defense or whatever, in development. So they can trade things out that may not necessarily contain a monetary value that can be displayed publicly. That's something else that people need to consider when you look at what DJI is paying, because DJI can't be used critically. They can't be used for government use case. So they have no choice but to pony up money. As to where, again, I think with Skydio, it can be deemed a different way. I think there's some definite things happening on the back end that maybe we don't see, we'll not know. It also doesn't help where a lot of these organizations, AVUSI specifically, has spoken out now against DJI, and it's just crazy because 2-3 years ago, they were all on that train, and now all of a sudden, now Skydio's in bed with them, and there's somebody on the board there. That I believe, yeah. So I mean, it's just crazy. It's crazy. I didn't attend AVUSI because of all this. I don't support that.
I went because I'm an AVUSI leadership of the Rocky Mountain chapter. I'm completely transparent about that. I believe in what AVUSI is doing at the state level with their drone prepared and the AAM prepared. And we're working on that here in Colorado. But I went to Expo for that, because of that, and to talk with people, obviously.
Sure.
And it's the networking thing. But the fact that you and I sit here and have to say, explain it to me like I'm a third grader. Explain it to the industry like we're third graders, and say, look, this is what we're doing. This is what DJI is doing, or Autel, any Chinese. If you look at the DFR bill, it's all Chinese drones, not just DJI and the CCCPDA.
Right.
Tell us what we can do to help, okay? And if it's really truly an issue, what's with the 5-year ban? It's like, it's okay, you guys can spy on us for 5 years because, boy, we got some really cool shit coming down the road in 2030.
Talk about that.
Sorry.
Talk about the 5-year ban. Break that down, because that's a whole nother thing that I don't think people.
That's the DFR.
Yeah. So break that down.
Bill.
Break that latest bill down.
Yeah, I definitely want to talk with the CCPDA, but let's the DFR, which is there's some. We'll get into that too. But the DFR, the drones for first responders, it's an innocently named bill, which is not an innocent bill at all. What it does, if passed, and last I heard, I should have checked between podcasts to see if Stefanik has posted the language yet. But as last I checked on GovTrack, it had not. But it will do. It's okay. We already paid a 25% tariff, right? Tax. I prefer the word tax. Every year for the next 5 years, it bumps it up 5%. So 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. And once it hits 50, then they also add $100 to the cost of the drone. I don't know. It's like they threw a bunch of bills at the wall and $100 bill stuck. So, okay, that's what we're going to use. Totally random. And then by 2030, it totally bans any Chinese product. So that means DJI, means Autel, that means basically 100% of all the recreational drones. It bans a lot of the hobby RC planes, the ready-made hobby RC planes. So AMA is involved with this in a good way. And so what they're going to do then with that fund that this is going to create with the tax, with the 25 to 50% increment tax, is create a fund where critical infrastructure workers, farmers and ranchers, and first responders can then buy drones, since they have to replace DJI. 2 questions for that. One, what the hell are they going to buy? Yeah, the X10's out there. From what I understand, it's not a bad drone. It's an expensive drone.
Yeah, it's expensive.
But it's not a bad drone. I hear both. I mean, the true anti-Skydio people don't like it. But I hear it's a decent drone. It does the job. And that's it. Really, that's it. I mean, you can spend a whole bunch of money on, something like, Free Fly. You put a nice rig on it, you got a nice drone. But again, it's a lot of money in the air. And it's also a very technical drone that a first responder is not going to want to fly with. They have more important things to do in their job than learn how to fly a drone. They need a drone that they can pull out, push the button, and fly safely and constantly and accurately and easily. So they that fund. I'm sorry, I'm off topic again. That fund, I will take down many rabbit trails, reel me back in when you need to. That fund will then can be used for these 3 groups of people to buy a drone over the next 5 years, right? The problem is, and this is where it ties back into the Countering CCP Drones Act, who's the largest importer of drones? DJI, 80-something% of the market, right?
Right.
So if the Countering CCP Drones Act passes, either on its own or part of the NDAA, that cuts off the income stream for the DFR. So to me, I mean, Stefanik and her crew are not stupid. They know that exists. They know that tie-in is there. So if they cut off the DJI spigot, I almost said something else, that dries up the DFR fund. So they know they're still pushing the CCPDA, and they know that
are they pushing it because they know it may not? Are they doing it so it's like one or the other? You think it'll go?
No, they're pushing. I was told. I spent an hour and a half on the phone. A little over an hour on the phone 2 weeks ago with one of Stefanik's staffers, her main staffer that deals with Homeland Security, National Security, and she flat out told me they're going to push them in parallel. And so it's like, why? The DFR bill is window dressing, and we've got major organizations behind it. First responder organizations, AWSI, like you mentioned, they're in the press release. AWSI is in the press release singing its praises. Stefanik's press release.
This is my issue.
Where's it going to go? Where are they going to get the funds?
This is my issue.
Pass the CCPDA.
This is my biggest issue when it comes to this country, because they ultimately try to decide, like, there's always some sort of backhanded purpose behind each bill, right? And there's always like,
I would say it's like
there's always
the vast majority.
There's always a want, a need, and then there's like this thing that's thrown in there, like they really want to get it pushed through, but they know that this is much more, like, people look at this and they don't just peel back and look under the carpet a little bit to say, oh, well, hey, what's hiding there? And everybody votes here. It's a bunch of smoke and mirrors in every bill. In every bill. I'm honestly, I'm pretty nervous about this. I think I'm more nervous actually about the tariff situation, because that essentially that one doesn't make any sense. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense, that tax, because if they're so freaking dangerous, money doesn't make them any less dangerous. Money doesn't make it any less of a threat. You're not going to stop what's already in circulation, because there is a tremendous amount of aircrafts in circulation already.
Whole bunch
out there. And that doesn't make that any less dangerous if they're that much of a security threat. When Boeing determined that the MAX aircrafts could be a danger to passengers, they grounded them. And these things cost millions. If these were truly a threat to national security, like they are proposing, they would order these aircrafts to be grounded, right?
2 years ago.
They would have ordered these to be grounded. I don't think the data is there. I mean, this is just truly a political knee jerk. And like you said, China is a hot topic. You know, we can argue back and forth on previous exploits from data years prior. You know, I won't refute that was something that was found.
No,
that was something that was found. There was something there. But what that something there is, and what it was used for, and what they were intending it to be used for, maybe it's just like, hey, we have the baseboards here. It's something that could be used later on. I don't know what that plan. I don't think it's that articulated. I don't think it's that pre-planned. You just never know within any organization. In any organization, and I mean this right from Facebook, Google, you have bad actors in place.
Absolutely.
Right? You have bad actors in place that will harvest information, harvest data, and until they are found out, nobody knows. Nobody knows. But there are bad actors out there that will do these things. But I haven't seen, again, what is this data? Okay, we have an exploit. It's there. What are they doing with that? How does that affect us? What is the information that is achieving? That's ultimately what I am asking, is what is it that it is accessing? What is it what are they searching for, essentially? Just give me that. You give me a reason. You tell me what they are going to do with that information, and I will deem...
And what information they have.
Right, what information they have, and I will deem whether or not that it is a threat to myself. Maybe I obviously can't deem whether it's a national threat, but if it's a threat to myself, and if I want to continue using said product or aircraft, just as like I know that if I log into Facebook, wherever, that, you know, I am giving up certain freedoms using these social apps, right? It's almost like you're leasing these social apps, and they know more about you than you know about yourself sometimes. But again, where do we go? And then if any of these things do pass, I don't see DJI being the type that just walks away and says, you know what, they're gonna let this happen. I would say the US probably makes up a good percentage of their annual sales, right?
I would think so.
We talked about it, you know, as far as the camera equipment, the gimbals, the microphones were sort of beat on because it does require wireless certification. They would obviously, maybe they sell, you know, piece out their brands, like start a Ronin brand. It's built in Taiwan. I don't know.
There you go.
I mean, I'm sure they have the infrastructure in place to do that. Because I know there's a lot of people probably hearing this and thinking, okay, we're really screwed. We're really screwed. Well, we don't know until the 12th. We don't know. Congress is weird. Right. Senate is weird. They're like the wind. It just takes the right person, the right amount of money to rub them the right way. And ultimately, it just sounds like this really just does boil down to money. Who's going to be the biggest bidder?
I think it does. I think so. And I brought it up earlier. You brought it up this time. I want to give props to our good friend Greg. I mean, this is something he hammers on all the time. It's like, okay, if this is a security issue, why 5 years?
Right. It just doesn't make it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
You tell me that smoking cigarettes is bad for me, but I'm going to quit in 5 years. I know it's bad for me, but I'm going to quit in 5 years. That doesn't make any sense. It's still bad for me the entire 5 years that I'm smoking.
Right.
It's creating a detrimental impact. But that doesn't make sense. And again, this is where these fucking security analysts, they don't have a response to that. Listen, you can go at me all day on Twitter, Mr. Finkelstein. We'll go all day. If you want to debate in person, I'll use my Sky Miles. I'll fly up to Ohio and we can have a conversation, because I promise you the conversation in person will probably be a lot more docile on your part than it is online. I guarantee you. I'm so sick of the dude regurgitating the same horseshit over and over again. Give me something new. Break it down so a freaking idiot can understand that. But you failed to do that every time I've asked. And I've not changed. I've not wavered. I've asked you the same thing. Break it down. You can't break it down. You won't break it down, because when you look at it up close under a microscope, you're making a mountain out of a molehill, and there's nothing there. That is the smoking gun. So I know I'm pissing him off with that. I love pissing him off. I've got all day. I'll hand my phone.
I try real hard not to piss people off, but for
him I make an exception, because it's just the more time I waste of his, the better. And I can multitask and waste his time.
My family's all Southern. There's a great saying that you should never get in the mud and wrestle with the pigs, because you only end up getting dirty, and all of a sudden you realize the pig enjoys it. So
right, I'm the pig, baby.
Not worth it.
Well, I'm a pig, so
go for it. Knock yourself out.
I'm already dirty. I'm already dirty. So,
but it's not my lane.
The southern people say. No. I'll just say it like this, because this in down south, this means go fuck yourself. Bless his heart. Bless his heart.
Bless his heart.
Bless his heart.
Yeah.
That's really what that means. Exactly. But I mean, then the be all is, you can go online, you can fill out a form, you can reach out to your senators. There is Drone Advocacy
DroneAdvocacyAlliance.com. Yep. Definitely. Yep. DroneAdvocacyAlliance.com. And we have a take action page. And so go ahead on there, and there are two campaigns right now, and I forgot to check to see if there's a third, because there's a whole bunch of stuff going on in New York right now that they're working on. I am not working on that part, which is probably the result of Skydio's $15,000 a month lobbyist signed in New York. And it's super simple. I mean, it's stupid. It's so simple a politician could do it, really. Is you go there, you click on that, and you put in your address, and it tells you right away who your senators are and who your representatives are. And we have I say we because I am part of DAA. I'm part of the Drone Advocacy Alliance. We have a pre-filled in thing, or what I would strongly suggest is you go ahead and write your story. It doesn't have to be, there's a limit to characters, so you don't write Gone with the Wind. But you say, look, this is what, if I can't buy a DJI, I go out of business. 67% of all drone businesses will go out of business with DJI ban. And you click the button and you're done. Yeah. Now you're going to get a canned answer, because I guarantee your senator or your representative is never going to see that email. It's going to be an intern or staffer, somebody along those lines, a staffer. But what they do is they see the numbers. The numbers count in DC, to the point where there was I was told that when the not the DFR, but the CCCPDA ended up in the Senate and started making the rounds in the Senate offices, there were some senators who said, "Look, we're getting a lot of traction. We're getting a lot of contact from our constituents saying, hey, time out. So we really cannot pencil push this bill through. We need to stop and think about it." So even if you get a canned response, you're making a difference. And if you really want to make a difference, you can go there, findmycongressman.com. I don't know what the email address is. Google find my congressman, find my representative. And every single one of their sites have a phone number. The senator, the congresswoman or congressman will not answer it, but a phone call makes a whole heck of a lot more sense than an email. Now, I reached out to Hickenlooper, my senator, and I haven't heard back squat yet. And I've even talked to their offices twice. But I still haven't heard back from them, so I'm not real happy about that. That was Friday, so I may, Mr. Hickenlooper, Senator Hickenlooper, if you or your staff are listening, please answer my email.
And that's the thing is a lot of them are probably going to get inundated with replies, and they don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it. But I think they have to take some of the things being said into consideration. Because as much as certain people would want to see this banned, there is a detrimental impact to some. And again, it's not going to be. It may not be right away. And again, I'm perfectly.
No, it won't be. It won't be.
No,
it won't be because we'll still be able to use our current drones in theory.
I would be okay just using what I have. If I never got another new drone, I'm perfectly okay with that because what I have is capable. But if I needed to replace, repair, whatever, I want to be able to do so. And batteries. That's not right. And that's not to say that, later on down the road, they don't start adding more implications for utilizing these aircrafts. And you would think during this whole time, there's this huge hole that could potentially emerge, right? That there would be some manufacturer that would rise to the front and say, hey, we got you. We're going to fill that void. But they don't give a shit. They don't care because the enterprise side is just going to keep enterprising.
The staffer I talked to said that's the point. They want to invigorate the VC market. It's like that's fine. You can give somebody $1 billion right now, and they have squat on the boards.
That doesn't make sense because if you don't have something right now, you don't have anything to plug that hole. And if your boat is leaking, I know, but it's such a weird mentality that you're going to 86 a brand and don't have anything to backfill it with. That's like quitting your job without having another job lined up or firing your only employee.
Quitting your very high paying job and you're very much in debt. And
right. It just doesn't make a lot of logical sense. I don't really understand it. I mean, so it sounds like we just need to keep doing what we're doing. We have till the 12th. So today's the 5th. So next
13th,
week.
But yeah, but we need to do Monday. Monday is if you can get it out by Monday deadline, would be great. That's what people need to do because the 11th to the 13th, that's when markup. That's when they start throwing all the tripe into the soup, right? So that's what we need to do right now. And for those of you who don't know what tripe is, look it up.
So Quicksilver FPV says, you would think that'd be a good idea for DJI just to shut off all DJI drones before this goes through so everybody gets up and does something about it before it's too late.
No.
Here's the reality.
Why would somebody like?
Yeah,
why would DJI do that to the customer?
That would be proving. That would be proving exactly what they could fucking do. It's like, no, we wouldn't want that. But what you do need to do is you got to go over to droneadvocacyalliance.com. Let your voice be heard. If you're somebody in this industry, whether you're a hobbyist or not, it is sort of sad that no matter what, this is a very challenged and embattled industry. It's a young industry. There's a lot of growth to still come, but it's very embattled, and it's embattled in a way that I didn't think we would be facing. I didn't think we would be dealing with manufacturers. I felt like we just got past a remote ID. A lot of us just started accepting remote ID and starting to realize like, okay, this is the new life. This is what we now have to face. And now here we are looking like, okay, we just got over that, and now we're looking at we could be facing an all-out ban here, or something far worse, which could be even pretty expensive for the future. It just seems like it's always something, and if none of this goes through, there will be something else again because they're not gonna stop. You like I said, it's whack-a-mole. You're gonna get rid of one. And then they're going to think about rewriting it another way to get it approved or get people to agree. My only hope is that there's still some common sense out there in Congress where they can look at it and say, well, there's a whole industry of people, a lot of people still using these products. We don't have anything that is going to work for them. And maybe delay the vote or really think about it. They need to see the data of whatever is so nefarious or scary. Because I mean, if they saw that and they said, okay, this is a true threat, and they disclosed whatever this threat is, I think maybe people would be like, okay, yeah, I can understand it. I can't understand it because they haven't disclosed anything that makes logical sense. You haven't seen anything that makes logical sense. Nope. And I would say you're
asked.
Right. And I'm just saying this from a non-biased standpoint. Just show me what it is or explain to me what this is that is so dangerous. And I would shut up. But like everything I've seen, I'm like, I don't understand. I'm not seeing.
Lead, follow, or get out of the way.
Right. I'm not seeing what this does. Is this going to take a car out? Is this what is this essentially going to do? But they don't want to do that, and that's why I'm so adamant on calling him out on that, because he's the only real proponent I've seen of this, as far as talking about this information. Maybe there's others, maybe they're quieter about this, maybe the information's concealed for whatever reason, who knows. But I would think that all things come to fruition at some point, good, bad, or indifferent. I just don't. Right. I don't understand it.
Well, I started out very optimistic this wouldn't happen. I switched over about 2 or 3 weeks ago to cautiously optimistic. Now I'm kind of hoping that the light at the end of the tunnel isn't a train coming our way. I'm maybe I'm being Pollyannic.
Where does your optimism where does your optimism come from? Maybe that would help me feel. Where's your hope that you feel that this will end in our favor?
I'm still hopeful that Congress is not this collectively stupid.
Time after time they have not proven me wrong. They have not disappointed time after time.
I'm the eternal optimist. And so maybe I'm looking at it through rose-colored glasses, which by the way I had in the 80s. I just don't think they're that stupid. I think
are there counter arguments? Are there counter arguments from senators?
I've given them counter argument.
Well, I'm saying from people voting, people that have the ability to vote. Okay.
I know of somebody who has been talking on, again, back room stuff, who has been talking to some other people and saying, look, this, let's investigate the security aspect. Let's look at, let's make a security thing. Let's make protocols. I'm sorry, I hit my computer. I'm getting excited. Let's do something that addresses the actual problem. All of this stuff is based on. And if this is an issue, if it's X, Y, and Z, let's fix X, Y, and Z and make it an issue. Let's get 2209 out there and pushed out. Let's figure out where these protocols have to be used, no matter whether it's a DJI, a Autel, Bob's drone and pickle shop, whatever, Skydio, Teal, whatever. If you can meet these standards, you can fly in this 2209 airspace. Done. And then leave the rest of us the hell alone. Don't make me fly a blue UAS over Mesa Verde National Park for security issues when there are hundreds and thousands of iPhone photos on the internet of that same damn area. That's stupid. Let's be realistic about this. There are times when we should not fly our DJI, Chinese, whatever, drones. Get it, 100%. We get it. Show us where they are and set something up to where we can do what we need to do for a living. A drone is there's no reason to kill an industry based on what may happen with something we're using in that industry. Absolutely zero. It's literally using a hand grenade to kill a fly. It's stupid. It's asinine. But I'm I'm looking at it from an aviation perspective. In aviation, we're not playing hypothetical what ifs. We're looking at the data that's presented in front of us. We're looking at information that's visible as a pilot. Even comparing this to airline pilots, they're going to look at things. They're not playing what if, because what if is how you get people. That's how you get people killed, by playing what if and going by gut instincts.
they're going to look at the data and they're going to say, okay, what is this actually doing? What is this actually doing? In the interim of what was said on Twitter, and if you guys want to go on Twitter, that got really ugly very quickly. But there's some information there, and if you want to see that information, I'm not going to try to shield you from any of it. It's all out there. It's publicly available. It doesn't make a lot of sense because they're putting this out there in code and scripts, and you got to sit there and you got to really sit there and read the different texts that they're putting out there to really understand this. But I did want to read this because I think that this is, when they put this out, when he sent this to me, I just want to read this line of code, and it's on Twitter. So there's a line of hash code basically that's breaking down one of the vulnerabilities or possible exploit backdoors. And there's a query it says, can decode cookie be abused here? So he's asking it a question. Can this be abused? And the response, the decode cookie method in the preference cookie store.java class can potentially be abused. Now, that's a very finite word there, potentially. Is it being abused? Mm-hmm. You don't know. It says potentially abused for deserialization attacks due to the use of the objective input stream. Without proper validation or whitelisting of classes, this can lead to security vulnerabilities like remote code execution. It's important to implement proper input validation and consider using safer alternatives for deserialization. So what that means for us, I mean, essentially nothing, because it's a could be. It's can this be used or is it being used is what I'm asking, because it's two different questions. Mm-hmm. Is it being used or is it not being used? And that was what I was trying to ask, get him to say. Is it being used currently? Are they currently, running remote code, from wherever remotely? Are they running a remote code that is reading information on our devices? And are they accessing that information? That's a vulnerability that was found. But is it there? And then, again, I don't run anything DJI other than the Mimo app on this phone. So whatever it's doing or not doing, I don't know. But I know when it comes to iOS specifically, it's a little bit harder for things to just pop off now with the latest iOS. A little different on Android. Android is sort of wild west. But again, when you're just using the application on, let's say, a smart controller, smart RC, what information is it really doing? What is it doing? And I hate to revert back. I personally feel, I think there's a greater threat, a greater risk with, printers that are like Chinese printers, 3D printers. I use a lot of Chinese 3D printers. They're all on network. Always online. But that's not a security risk, right? Because that's not collectively looking at packets transfer. I mean, come on. I mean, we're playing, favorites with what products we're wanting to target. Mm-hmm. And if tomorrow all of a sudden people started, creating 3D print weaponry, now I guarantee you printers would be a target of conversation. 3D printers would be a target of conversation because now it's something that could essentially affect the government. It could affect state. It could affect all different levels of things. And that's just thinking of things from a different perspective. But again, I just feel like this is selective targeting. Selective political targeting with this. And this has been going on ever since, and really the paradigm shift, and when we started noticing this was 2021, when Skydio first started shifting towards the enterprise world. That's when we first really started noticing this paradigm shift. And then it was CES targeting DJI for humanitarian concerns that have nothing to do with essential products, that they were putting them on this humanitarian ban. So that goes back to where you were talking about where they were using the aircrafts to monitor those camps and things of that nature. So again, it's very selective. Everything, unfortunately, in this industry is politically driven, which is insane. It is so insane. And it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you sit on, Republican, Democrat, or other. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because the rhetoric is they are against China across the board. There's been a massive anti-China push for a long time. And like I said, it's only going to be a matter of time. If not drones, it'll bleed over into other sectors. So no matter what hobby you choose to participate in, if you're using a product that is not manufactured here, it is essentially not safe. And and in my opinion, it's unfair of a government to make these decisions for its citizens, especially if you claim to be the freest of all the lands. Well, it's free because we have the right to have a choice. But when you take away that choice, we're no longer free, and we're no different than any other utilitarian government that's on the face of this planet, unfortunately. And it's crazy.
Congress should not be in the position to ever pick winners and choosers of an industry based on what if it could. Okay. So
FTC,
what? So prove it could and make
the FTC fines companies and even imprisons people for gaming the system to game a market. This is no different. This is no different than gaming a market, really. That's what this is doing.
An interesting take. Never thought of that. Yeah.
This is gaming in a market for play. You're essentially trying to handicap a Goliath. This is like your winning football team's got a massive league, and you just take out the quarterback, and now they can't throw a touchdown pass, and you essentially give yourself. It doesn't mean they're going to win. It doesn't mean Skydio is going to come back, because there could be other, there could be a great backup quarterback. But it just means that's, to me, this is gaming a market. This is gaming a market for monetary gain.
I never thought of it from the FTC angle. That's interesting.
Brink and Skydio stand to game the most, and it's really interesting to watch the pivot of Skydio and the demeanor of what they started, what their mission was when they first started, to what it is right now. I mean, we're talking about a fast-paced three-year plan. I mean, if it was a 3-year deal, really 4 years if you're really being technical, to this pivot to where we got here. Because I remember when those ads ran, it was 2019. It was November 2019. I remember placing my pre-order. If I knew what I knew now, I would have never got behind this, because maybe what we have today doesn't happen if we didn't back them then. Maybe it does, but their success would have greatly diminished, I think, and how much money they were able to raise.
I want to see Skydio and Brink and Teal and all I want to see them. I want to see them succeed, because it would be good for the drone market. I want to see them succeed.
I want to see them succeed with innovation. I want to see them succeed with innovation. Innovation, not legislation. I want to see them innovate. I want to see them innovate. I want to see them not alienate entire user bases of pilots, because there's so many different applications that we all do. And then you just say, well, hey, we're not supporting you. Not only are we not supporting that, but we're making our hardware, almost unattainable for the startup business. We're making it almost unattainable for the average Joe farmer. We're making it unattainable for the person that's just, got their mapping business in order. They've made it unattainable. And that's not, they don't have to apologize for that, because at the end of the day, they are in business to be in business, of course, and they can make those financial decisions for themselves. That's their decision to make as a business operator, and it would be hypocritical of me to say they should do anything different. I mean, that's great, but what I don't want to see is, don't break the knees of your competitor because you feel the pressure of them in your marketplace, because you realize that they're making a better product in comparison to your product. That's all I'm saying.
You can't elevate an industry by cutting the knees off the industry leader. It doesn't work that way. You're lowering the top. That's all you're doing. And I can't say who, but it was not public, so I can't say who.
Sure.
It was a great comparison. Somebody called Skydio the air map of manufacturers. AirMap got into trouble. They caused their problems, and then they sold to a new company.
Sure.
But the new company still had issues with what people thought about AirMap.
Right.
And so they didn't use it. It's gone now for different reasons. But if Skydio came out with, X10, good or bad, whatever, I hear both, came out with something on the consumer level that was a good drone, I know many people who would never buy it because of the tack Skydio has taken at Innovate versus legislate, that's a great way to put it. They've decided to do the legislative method rather than spend as much time as they could on innovate.
But the problem being with that is it's an irreversible motion that they've set forth, because they've already gone down this rabbit hole, and they're already making profit in doing so down this trajectory. They're already making money going down this path. So it's not something that they can just reverse and say, hey, you know what? We're going to produce consumer products. They're going to keep going down this rabbit hole because their hope is that they will be the only key player, maybe Brink, that's in the marketplace too. So you're going to have two.
See, they're not even competitors. So.
I know, but they're going to be the only other option, right? They're going to be the only other option. They know that there's a lot. So Sideshow Bob that runs Brink, that's what the CEO looks like. He reminds me of Sideshow Bob. I digress. But they have a lot to gain from this too, financially. When they first started out, I remember visiting their headquarters in Las Vegas at the time.
In Vegas.
And they were literally producing $16,000 FPV drones, Vic. It was
I know.
T-motor components, and they were trying to put us on this whole pitch. And I'm just like, I couldn't believe what what I did when I left there? I turned around to my business partner. I said, we can fucking make our own. This is hobby grade shit. This is FPV drones with LiDAR on the bottom for positioning. I said we could literally do this our damn selves. And we never got really, back on that, but it's still, I did see a question. Somebody said, I want to just bring this up. John Bowen says, let's get back to the likelihood and what it means to the consumer that own DJI and the ability to purchase in the future. I mean, the reality is we won't know anything until the 12th. We won't know. The likelihood
13th,
is the 13th.
Well, it'll go beyond that because
the
bills are not going to be identical. It's got to go to a conference.
Correct. And there's going to be a lot of fine writing to decipher, because if they change things, it has to be validated and all parties have to agree. And I don't know who reads this bill, but again, it's really going to come down to what's said. Well, yeah, you do, but it's going to be really down to what's said from now until then, how much pushback, and then ultimately, I think when bills fail, it's how much money is being presented to certain parties from the one being affected, unfortunately. Right. It's, this is what you witness in Congress and the Senate when these bills are proposed. This is legalized extortion. When you think about it, and if enough money is bolstered on DJI's behalf, if enough money is put up, I see this as this won't happen. It goes away for a little while. I think it goes away for a little while. Will it resurface? Absolutely. When that kitty's dry.
Well, I've heard that Congress is tired of drone bills. We've had a lot.
Yeah.
And they're done.
Yeah.
Whether that means it's over, I don't know. And John, if we don't get to your question, you got my phone number. You can call me. But how it will affect if the CCP DA goes through as is right now, as it's written, it will not affect standing drones. It will affect once the FCC does the paperwork and goes through the motions of not allowing any more DJI FCC licenses, then no more DJIs in the country. Does that mean then they're going to go back and revoke them retroactively? I don't think they do that. But again, that's me being optimistic, internal optimistic. So it will not affect what we have now. It will not affect what they are manufacturing now. So they can continue manufacturing Mavic 3s and M300s and all that stuff because they won't require new FCC licenses. So it won't be no more drones after January 1st. Boom, we're done. No DJI. It won't happen.
Gotcha.
So we don't have to worry about that. But we do need to worry about what happens when. Drones are not built to last. There's not a drone company out there that's going to build a drone to last because the technology is changing too fast. It's not going to happen. It's not going to be, this drone will last you 6 years. No, it won't. I don't think I have a drone that's older than, I know I don't have any drones older than a year now.
Theoretically, because they're not serviceable technically beyond props, you're going to get about 2.5, maybe 3 years out of it.
3 years if you're heavy. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so then you might have to buy a brand new one, but then it's old tech again.
But I don't think we would see an American-based company within a 3-year span. I don't think a company can put out a product within the time that we would have to retire these aircrafts. And again, we talk about, there's other components. I use DJI gimbals quite heavily because I'm ground-based.
Right.
I use their gimbals. I've tried other gimbals, and I guess I would wonder if this would also affect Zhuin or any other person that creates a gimbal, or is it
not
only
the CCPDA?
Okay,
it's DJI specific.
Okay,
DFR. Well, the DFR is only drone specific. So yeah.
So it's only drone specific, and it's only DJI specific. Which there's an immense amount of Chinese companies out there. I guess I don't understand that, and maybe it's something we'll just have to wait and see. I hope come the 13th, we get that silver lining where this doesn't happen. Again, I'm giving you guys all the information that you want to see. If you want to see the counter argument to this, you can head over to Twitter and dig through those feeds and see that information. But like I said, I think you're going to see the same thing. And the reason why I am the way I am with this individual is because the information is not easily decipherable for somebody that's not sitting there sifting through lines of code. You just want to know, okay, what this is, what it does, and how does it affect me? Simple questions. You want simple responses so you can make an educated determination of whether or not you should be heading over to droneadvocacyalliance.com and voicing your concern. Again, it's your choice. I can't encourage you one way or the other, and I'm not telling you on the behalf of any manufacturer.
By the way, you can go to our website, droneadvocacyalliance.com, go to take action, click on that particular campaign, and rewrite everything. Says, yes, ban the crap out of these drones. We don't want them in the country. Do it. That's the power
of
we are
choice.
An advocacy. We're an avenue of choice. We're an avenue of information.
Right.
We would like you very much to say don't ban these drones. But you know what? If you don't want to do that, do it.
Right, and that's the power, and that's the power of having choice and having
grassroots
and having information.
Grassroots organizations
having the correct information at your disposal, so you can make educated decisions, not impulsive decisions. Obviously, is the best method of approach, and that's why I felt like I'm glad you asked to do this, because I don't feel like articulating a video is so finite, and it does not start a conversation where you can interact or you can have opposing views, because obviously there's two sides to this coin, and it's important to understand all aspects of this proposal and what needs to be done. So it's frustrating. Robbins asked, please post links for us to rise up to the government. If you look at the very top of the chat, it's actually pinned up there. It is droneadvocacyalliance.com. It's actually pinned up at the top of the chat in the stream. And then by the time this stream is actually over and done, you can head to the description of this stream as well to be able to click on that link and let your opinion be heard. And obviously try to do this before Monday, because that's sort of going to be the cutoff time tonight. And I know a lot of people may leave here and be like, wow, these are two DJI fanboys. There are probably a handful of people that would say that, but the reality is yes, sort of yes, because there isn't, again, another option out there that performs as equally. It doesn't exist. And if you could point me in the direction of something that exists, I would gladly purchase it. Sans a Specta or an Anzu, because that doesn't count, because that's same but different.
You're in a position to get a lot. People send you a lot of stuff because you're a reviewer.
Sure.
I get some stuff sent to me, but they know I'm not going to do a review. I'm going to give you honest private feedback. That's what I do. I've flown a couple of larger enterprise drones that are on the market, and I gave them honest feedback. And it's like, these are not ready for prime time. And what's funny is, I had a really great conversation with one of the CEOs of this company, and they told me, don't compare ours to DJI because we cannot source our stuff from China, so we can't get it to fly as well. If that's not a huge red mark.
That's a huge red flag.
I don't know what is.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's a huge red flag.
This is a CEO of a drone company that readily admitted, hey, we can't build it as good, so please don't compare us to them.
But, and that's not the only time I've ever had that happen where, people have wanted, and then I've had companies, though, they want me to make direct comparisons because the product, for instance, 00, they sent me this little tiny 145 grand follow me drone. And they want me to compare it to a DJI drone. And I'm like, no, because it's not apples to apples. It's like apple to grape or something. It's not the same. But in understanding why they want me to do that, they want me to show the stark differences between the two products, that this is not a drone you're going to go fly sky high. This is a drone that's literally meant for very specific canned tasks, and it's lightweight. So I mean, there's all sorts of aspects, but to that point, yeah, I do get products do arrive, but I mean, I'll sit there and I will, I sort of rip things to shreds when they just don't meet whether they're provided or not.
Really? I've never noticed.
Because I'm always searching for that next drone that just checks at least a handful of the boxes that I need to be able to operate something, for business, whatever the case may be, safely. And like I said, there hasn't been Autel came close, but like I said, with this bill, we're in the same situation. So that doesn't help us.
DFR bill would affect them as well.
That affects them as well. So that doesn't help either. So I mean, we're sort of at like just the mercy of whatever happens, and hopefully, like you said, that there's still a little bit of common sense there.
I hope so.
I mean, I think there's more of us than them.
Thing, though.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, there are more of us than them. If you want to call me a DJI fanboy, because I want to be able to put the best product I can in the air for the safest possibility, for the best money I can buy, to give my client the best product I can get for them. Yeah. If it happens to be a DJI, I'm a DJI fanboy. If it happens to be on the ground, hey, guess what? I'm a Nikon fanboy. And we won't get into the whole Nikon Sony thing.
Yeah, we won't do that. We won't do that.
Way too much fun. But it's yeah, okay. I've had Autel. I had one for a while, and the user interface wasn't that great. I couldn't do things physically with what I could with my DJI. I don't have any problems with Autel. That's it. I've had Autel and DJI. That's all I've had, because nothing else.
I mean, and that's pretty much the same way me. I've tried a bunch of different products throughout the years, and I've always seemingly stumbled back at DJI, sometimes to Autel, depending on the need. But at the end of the day, I'm always going to use what works best. And again, it goes back to that unconscious bias, because if there was a problem, if there truly was a problem with these products, I mean, I think some things would be apparent. Like there would be something that, you know what I mean? Like there'd be something said sooner. It's such a popular product, and I know it's probably one of the more heavily scrutinized products as well.
Oh, heck yeah.
So there's lots of people doing independent security checks on these and audits, essentially. So, you would have thought that something would have sprung up, because, the news loves a clicky headline, and there's nothing. There's nothing that indicates where the danger of, and the word spying is such a broad term in a sense, because what are they spying? What data are they? Are they data peeping? What then? What? I don't know. I think we have enough problems.
If there was truly an issue, Congress or not, Congress obviously hasn't leaked it. If they don't want to do that, fine. There is, a huge underground hacking community.
Oh yeah.
And damn well that they would say, oh, hey, let's make our chops on DJI. And they would do that. They would bust the code. They would say, look what we found. I am now the latest and the new greatest fill in the blank. I won't say his name.
Yeah.
So where's that? Where's that? It would be happening. I'm sorry. I am not a security analyst, just like you. I'm not. I haven't.
Yeah, I'm not, and I don't claim to be.
But
I'm an end user.
I don't either. That's what's funny when people say you're not. It's like I don't claim to be.
And that whole argument, it would like me, the argument on Twitter, it's the irony in that it's almost like a doctor arguing with, a trash man about whether or not someone has cancer. I have no idea, but I'm asking you to break down that information in a layman's perspective so it's easily digestible, easily understandable. And if you say that, oh, you're touting misinformation, break it down so the information is understandable. Because if everybody's misinformed, please clue us in. Mm-hmm. But I mean, here we are, 5 years later, they found something, back 2017. And guess what? No one gave a single shit. You know why? When a product is so good, people tend to overlook things, and maybe there was something there, but nobody gave a shit. Nobody even gave it. I believe there was an article in Drone DJ for a blip. Done. DJI acknowledged the issue, said that they fixed the problem, and I remember there was independent research analysts that went back after the fact to, I guess there was a bounty of some sort for this exploit at the time. And that was it. That was all we heard. And, at the time, even hearing that there was an issue, I was sort of like, well, I don't really know what they could do. I don't know what they could do. What are they going to do?
That was a could have issue as well. It could have. It could be.
Again, another could have issue. So again, could have issues don't necessarily affect me as if it is an issue. If there's a direct vulnerability, like sometime with an iOS or something, or if there was like information being leaked out of banking information. So those are things that are serious that could potentially affect you. I don't know. I just didn't see it to be deem it much of a concern. And there's nothing that I feared that like the Chinese would give a shit about for me specifically. I mean, I don't know what they're gonna. I don't know what they're gonna do. I mean, they're not gonna find anything really interesting. I'm not an interesting person, and as are many people aren't. And there's just not enough. There's not enough there. And without the why or the what, I just feel like it's a moot point, or the how. Right? The how is I think the biggest part. There was a post on Facebook where a gentleman sort of put together like what he believed potentially, would be the most plausible scennario, and it really. Did you see
sniffing?
Something to do with sniffing.
Something, wasn't it?
Yeah. I'm trying to find it.
Frequencies.
It was such a crazy sort of like theory, and that's all it was. It was only that. It was just a theory. Mm-hmm. But when you're reading it, you're sort of like, okay, that could potentially, that makes sense. It like that theory, made sense. But is it factual, or is it, it's just made up? And at the time, it was just something that they were saying, but it wasn't anything that was. Actual.
It wasn't
reality.
Accusational.
Yeah, it was. Like, exactly. So it wasn't anything. Could've. Yeah, another could have, and that's I think the biggest situation here is there's a lot of could haves, and not a lot of people tend to really do a lot of research. And like I said, I'm all open to listening to things. When it comes to debating doesn't work. When you have an expert in one area, you have an expert in the other, and you're debating about a topic that one person is stronger on or is an expert on, that's not a debate. That's not a debate, because you're supposed to be a subject matter expert in that area. Mm-hmm. A subject matter, you know what I'm saying? That's like me trying to debate, like my wife wanted to debate me about drones. She's not going to be able to debate that. She knows nothing about that. She doesn't understand the inner workings. She just sees what she sees, but she's not going to have enough of information to grab. So when you want to debate about a specific topic, I think both people, you can have a conversation. You can have a conversation back and forth like we're having, but a debate doesn't work in those instances.
Right.
It just doesn't because it's not apples to apples in the conversation. One person is going to be more heavy-handed than the other with the information they have. And how are you going to know whether the information is provable or not? You don't know. So that's my problem in that.
And when the other person keeps ending their conversations with LOL,
yeah,
that's not exactly professional.
Yeah, a little
and you wonder why they don't want to talk to me. Yeah. And I want to reiterate again, it's just go to droneadvocacyalliance.com, yep. Go to our Take Action page and pick both campaigns, but definitely the Countering CCP Drones Act is the one that's really imperative we reach out to right now about this. It's just really imperative we do this. I am no longer cautiously optimistic, but I'm not pessimistic yet. I don't know where I fall. I
think you fall in the. I think you're in the. I think you fall in the category of this is not a realization yet. You know, I think after.
It's a good, I guess.
I think you're.
I'm guessing. I don't know.
I'm the same way too. You know, I'm optimistic and you know, I could be optimistic when I'm playing poker, and I'm optimistic up until I see that river card. But when that river card drops and it's not in my favor and all my chips are sliding across the table in the opposite direction, it's a fleeting feeling. It's a fleeting feeling, but you have that optimism because you know there's a percentage. We're playing percentages right now, and unfortunately, this is a lot like a Texas Hold'em game, in my opinion. Is we're waiting, we're gaining information, and we're trying to convince the other party that they're making they just need to fold, basically.
But at least we know we know who's bluffing.
Well, yeah, we know they're full of shit. We know they're full of shit because they can't prove anything. So, but I mean, I feel you there. I mean, it's a gut wrenching feeling because it's one more stress from a business owner perspective. Me personally. And many people that I've met that are in this industry, and some people that I know that have just started their business. They just started their business last year. They just had, they just got past that year, that rough growing patch, and now they're sort of in the black this year. And then you have this stress that you're a sole proprietor. You're going. It's a terrible feeling.
I would hate to be in their shoes right now, emotionally. It would suck rocks.
And it sucks for those that are all in on the drone side of things. They're all in on the drone. They don't have, like you and I, we have the ground aspect, right? We can, if we had to walk away from drones, it would suck. It would limit us. It would be hard to explain to.
I love what I do.
Right. But we can do it. We would have to adapt. We would have to adapt differently. But those that are in this and they're all in on the drone aspect, there isn't really an affordable plan B as of right now for what we do. And it sucks. It sucks. I hope that changes. I really hope. I hope that at the end of all this is what I hope. My hope is no matter what happens with DJI, I hope they have a better contingency plan. I'm serious.
I'm laughing in agreement.
I hope they have another contingency plan. And if that means, separating the company, transfer of ownership, whatever they have to do to preserve whatever they have built, whatever means necessary that they have to do, they need to do it. They need to do it because they've got such a foothold in an industry that they need to do whatever means necessary to preserve what they have built, because the industry is partially where it is right now because of the innovation that they set forth.
Partially, I would go more than that.
Well, I'm giving credence to all because you can't just say it's all them. But I mean, yes, they're a large.
No, it's not all them.
They're a large portion of it, but we're here because of what they've done. We've been able to achieve things that we couldn't do before. So I hope they see this as like, okay, you got a second life. We need another plan here. Or we need to make some changes, because otherwise, you never know. Cats' lives don't last forever, unfortunately.
Right. Well, I happen to know that there are some DJI people listening tonight, so it's not falling on deaf ears.
No, I know, and there's a lot of good people there. People that are here in this country.
There's good people at Skydio. There is good people at Skydio.
I just haven't met them yet, Vic. I haven't met very many of them.
I have. I've been on a couple of FA committees with a few of them. A couple of them. They're good people.
I'm sure.
And I know other people there that I've met outside of there, and that's what kind of pisses me off about it. I don't want their company to fold because of that. I don't want them to lose their jobs.
I want to see I want to see them do well, but they got to do well because they're doing well because they're making something that people say that they want, they need. When you create a product that people need, it is so much different than forcing somebody's hand into a product. It's just not a good. That's like, I mean, let me leave you with an analogy that you'll probably turn your stomach with. You know what Skydio reminds me of? What they're doing. You know what this reminds me of? This is so inappropriate, but I'm going to say it anyways. What they're doing is the equivalent. Let me explain. What they're doing is the equivalent of going into the strip club. You're getting a lap dance at the strip club. This girl is all over you. You think you're God's gift to women. But you know why they're all over you? Is because you're slipping money into that side strap. You're just slipping money. But once the money's gone, that's it. Wow. You're no longer this hot commodity. So what they're doing essentially is they're forcing themselves upon an industry in the same manner that a stripper forces their will upon you with dollars. I know that doesn't that makes sense.
I can't sleep tonight. Thank you very much.
I missed the mark. Anyways, thanks so much to
No,
Vic.
no, you didn't. I totally get it. I want to say one more thing though.
Go ahead.
Quick.
Say something.
The FAA I would. Gregor Verdio and I have been working together. We've been putting out some of the new Ops Over People information, right? I think you might have seen that. And some people are starting to get waivers. It's awesome. I was asked by the FAA people, emailed me today and said, we need to reiterate that the new rules are not new rules. They're new approval policies for the waivers.
Okay.
So yes, you can fly a under 400 gram drone over people, but you got to have a waiver to do it.
Gotcha.
A lot of people are saying, "Oh, yay, the new 400 grams!
Easier.
I can put prop guards on and a light on my Mavic or on my Mini 4 Pro, and I can fly over people all day long." No, you can't. Still got to go through the process of the waiver. Read my article at dsballiance.com or watch Greg's YouTube video, and we'll explain it for you. But please get the waiver. You have to have the waiver.
They just made the process. They made the process. Yeah.
They made the process much, much easier, and that's a good
and that's a good thing. I'm so glad they're making all these things so much easier while they're taking things away from us. That is just
FAA's not taking stuff away.
I know. For once, they're not the bad guy. So they're not the bad guy.
Hey,
I digress.
I've got my 2-mile BV loss waiver too, which will be put out at some point, information wise. I don't know how yet. That's a slightly different waiver than the OP. So.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you putting up with my bad analogies and letting me play devil's advocate. It
was a great analogy at the end. I loved it.
I mean, when it came out, it was we got it across there. So I appreciate you guys. Everybody, go over to Drone Advocacy. Can't even talk. My mouth is dry. Okay. DroneAdvocacyAlliance.com. Whether you side with or against, the choice is yours. Nobody's telling you what to do, but we
prefer with though.
Yeah, we prefer with, but like I said, it's ultimately do your own research, make your own decisions, and I'm not siding one way or the other. I mean, obviously we want to see these things stay around. We want to see everybody innovate instead of legislate. That may be a shirt. I don't know.
As long as it doesn't have my head on it, like that shirt there.
You just never know. You never know. Anything's possible. Anything's possible. So thanks so much, Vic. Have a great evening. I will see you next time, my friend.
All right. Everybody fly safe.
Yes, sir.
Bye.
Well, that was a good show. Lots of good conversation. Fun. Lots of good conversation on the stream. Always a good time to have Vic on. He's a wealth of knowledge. Been around for a while, and I appreciate what they are doing for the industry as a whole. Again, I don't really expect those that are not directly in the industry and doing things commercially, independently, whatever you do, to really understand the effect. When you are close to the fire of things and you're doing this daily, you just feel about it differently. Right, wrong, indifferent. You feel about it just so much differently. I mean, drones are they are a hell of a thing, and I am so glad that the community as a whole is what it is. It is a really great place, a lot of great people, and I don't want to see that dissipate because of people that are misinformed, or maybe if they've never experienced it for themselves, because sometimes experiencing something gives you a different feeling, right? It gives you a different feeling. And maybe some of these representatives, senators, they should probably pick up a drone and go fly and do something, you know, for themselves. I don't know. What are you going to do with your life, right? We're going to be dirt one day anyway, so... All right, that's going to do it for the stream. We're back again in another 2 weeks. Again, we're doing the bi-weekly streams. I think this is working out very nicely. Who knows who the next guest will be? I'm going to try to bring on somebody interesting each and every time. Very different guests. We had Philly Drone Life the week prior. We had Vic. Talk about two ends of the spectrum here. Wow. But that's going to do it. I will see you in the next video. I've got a really early morning. Stay original.
Voices in my head get loud and they keep telling me that I'm a fool for trusting in these wings. But maybe, baby, this what flying feels like. Maybe, baby, this what flying feels like. Maybe, baby, this what flying feels like. Themselves crazy tonight. Maybe I should call and say, told you I'd be right. Wondering how long it was before you realized the biggest mistake of your life, and now you're paying the price. Oh, is it confidence or confusion? Either way, I feel like I ain't never losing. Your opinion of mine, you know just what I'm choosing. I gotta do this, cause I can't fall asleep